So good afternoon to everyone. In fact, good evening to everyone. Am I audible?
Good evening. Yes, you
Good
can
evening,
rename.
Aman.
You are logging with Harsh account.
Oh, okay. I need to rename myself. Hello? Aman, is Khushi going to join?
Yes, ma'am, I'm calling her.
A very good evening, ma'am.
Good evening, Kamardeep.
Good evening,
And-
Gustavo sir.
Hello, Kamwadip.
How are you, sir?
I'm fine. Thank you. And you look very good.
Thank you, sir.
I hope that you're fine and your family.
Yes, sir.
Hmm. Where are you now, Kamwadip?
Sir, I am at home waiting for my counseling for the MTech admissions.
Okay. Great.
Yes, sir.
Hi, very good evening, everyone.
Good evening, Harsh.
Hi, Dr. Gustavo. Hi, Dr. Devika. And I can see Naman here. I can see Kamaldeep. They both have been student of our university, and I am seeing some more people are joining us. So Khushi has also joined there. Fine.
Good evening, sir. Good evening.
Hi, good evening. So I will not be doing any talking today. I will be a learner. I will be a student like many of your students. And this is a platform which is for all of us to discuss how and what electronic and communication engineering is something which is one of the core branches of engineering. and this is as good as any other branch we talk about. So Anushri is there with us. Anushri will be moderating the session today for all of us. And we have some questions which have come up from students, which Anushri will be taking for us and will be answered by Dr. Gustavo, Dr. Devika, and Naman and Kamal Deep will be helping us getting answer of some of those questions. So over to you, Anushri. We'll be starting in 5 minutes from now, and then we'll have a good 1 hour of discussion today.
Yeah, all right.
Okay, so I will be switching off my video and audio so that I do not distract any one of you, and all the best for today's session. Thank you.
To you too. Thank you.
Harsh, before you leave, can you make Dr. Milind also as a panelist?
Dr. Milind is already a panelist. Did he not?
No, he says he's not able to join the panel.
Let me send him the request once again.
Okay.
Just a second.
Could you also make some of us a co-host?
Yes, I'll do that.
Me and Devika ma'am.
So Anushri, I have made you co-host. I hope you got the notification.
Yeah, I got it.
I have just sent Dr. Milind read the request for becoming a panelist. Her email, his email ID is milind.thomas@jklu.edu.in. If I'm correct,
Yeah.
milind.thomas@jklu.edu.in.
Harsh, it is milind.themalil.
Okay, just a second.
Yeah. Can you text it?
What's his email ID, Dr. Devika?
One second, I will just check and confirm to you. milind.themalil@jklu.edu.in.
Can you please spell it for me? MILIND.
Dot
Dot.
THEMALIL
THEM.
ALIL
MILINL.
Yes.
Okay.
At jklu.edu.in.
Okay. I am repeating it. MILIND.themalil, THEMALIL @jklu.edu.in.
Yes.
Okay.
Also, should I send you his email ID personally through chat?
I think he must have received now.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, good evening, everybody.
Good evening,
Good evening,
Milind.
Dr. Milind. How are you?
Yeah, I'm fine, Harsh.
Hello, Milind.
Thank you.
Great, great. So we now formally start this session. So over to you, Anushree. Thank you, everyone, and all the best.
Thank you, Harsh. So, good evening, everyone. Esteemed faculty, Professor Gustavo Sanchez, Dr. Devika Kataria, Dr. Milind Thomas Themalil, parents, and dear students. I, Anushree Dikshit, faculty, JK Lakshmipat University, welcome you all to the webinar, Developing Road to Success in Digital World with Electronics and Communication Engineering. Well, I am sure this is the time when we are in the middle of decisions, concerned about our future, what to opt, how to ensure a lucrative career, and many more. We are here to help you on that. So without taking much time, let me introduce our panelists to you. We have with us Professor Gustavo Sanchez. As a professional with 24 years of experience in automation and industrial data science, Professor Gustavo is committed to help and support companies in their path to excellence. He received his BS degree in 1994 from University of Metz, France, and his PhD degree in 2011 from Simon Bolivar University, Venezuela, graduating both with honors. He has published 27 peer-reviewed articles, being honored in 2010 with the IEEE Computational Intelligence Society Best Paper Award. He's been associated with higher education institutions in Venezuela, Mexico, USA, China, and India. His current research interests include control systems, machine learning, remote sensing, and IoT applications. We have another panelist with us, Dr. Devika Kataria. She has a decade of industrial experience and over a decade of teaching and administrative experience at various institutions. She has done her BTech and MTech from NIT Bhopal and PhD from IIT Kanpur. She has attended All-in Summer Collaboratory for designing student-centered learning experiences and designed project-based learning courses at JK Lakshmipat University. She is pursuing research project in flexible sensor. She has conducted several workshops on Internet of Things in collaboration with Texas Instruments, where she received appreciation letter from Texas Instruments and AICTE for fostering the ecosystem, bridging government, academia, and industry. And last but not the least, we have Dr. Milind Thomas Themalil. He did his postdoctorate from University of Limoges, France, PhD from Jadavpur University, Kolkata, MTech and BTech from BITS, Ranchi, completed Masters and Bachelors in Electronics and Communication Engineering from Birla Institute of Technology, Ranchi. Currently, he is Associate Professor at JK Lakshmipat University, Jaipur. He was postdoctorate research engineering at XLIM, University of Limoges, France. He is former head of department and dean R&D at Believers Church Carmel Engineering College, Kerala. Former assistant professor at New Horizon College of Engineering, Bangalore. And prior to that, senior lecturer at DIATM, West Bengal. His areas of research interests are isoflux, reconfigurable beam designs, and transparent antennas for small satellite antenna applications, microstrip antenna design for wireless communication, and massive MIMO networks. He has published several papers in SCI, Scopus, international journals and conferences like IEEE, IGMOT, ACTA, Hindawi, and Springers. And so this was the introduction of our panelists. Welcome you all, esteemed faculty member. And now may I request Dr. Devika to throw some light on BTech on electronics and communication.
Thank you, Anushri, for such a warm welcome. And I welcome all my colleagues here and all the students and the alumni present here. I would just make a very small presentation about the programs which we are running. So the Electrical and Electronics Engineering Department runs 2 programs. And this program about which we are talking today is the Electronics and Communication Engineering program. It has got 2 concentrations. One concentration, the first one is in communication and signal processing, where the subjects taught are advanced communication systems in the final semesters. Information theory and coding, cryptography, signal processing using machine learning, and many more. We have another concentration, which is digital systems. And in this concentration, as the students reach in their final semesters, they read digital system design, they read embedded systems, they learn Internet of Things, industrial Internet of Things, security in IoT, and computer vision. It is a matter of great pride to mention about the latest accolades by some of our students. I have put few of these pictures here. So you can see we have today with us Harshita, and she has done very well in academics, and currently she's working in Cloud Hat Technologies. So I wouldn't be talking much about her because I would like her to tell about her experience on her own. Then we also have last year we had Anudit Bhatt with us, who is currently working in Anemoy Technologies and doing a lot of good projects in cloud computer vision and IoT in state of Rajasthan. We also have student Himanshi Agarwal, who has graduated from here, and she's working in the Mahindra SCZ with Infosys. And one of our students during this lockdown period, she was although working in Intel Bangalore, but despite the lockdown and despite all these COVID problems, she could manage to go to US, and she is now pursuing her PhD at San Jose State University in nanotechnology. We have yet another achievement very recently. Kavardeep is joined with us today. He has got 96 percentile in the GATE examination. So these are some of the student accolades. And more than that, what I would like to mention is that we offer a lot of courses, and along with these courses, I talked about the concentrations. We do offer some minor courses also, where a student of ECE can take few subjects of other branches as open electives in his 5th, 6th, or 7th semester. So it could be some subjects from mechanical engineering, or it could be from computer science, or even from civil engineering. Besides this, our students, they do internships, which we call them as practice schools. So there are 2 phases of these internships. One is after their 4th semester, when they go for about 1.5 to 2 months of internship. And then after the 7th semester, they go for a full semester. That is their 8th semester of 5 to 6 months. They go for internship, and most of them, they get their placements also with the companies where they do their internships. So some of these companies where our students go for internships are Aksh Optifiber, Anemoy Technologies, our own JK Tire, JK Fenner. We have a defense-based company with the JK Group called as Delopt in Bangalore. We have MOU with CSIR, Siri Pilani, where our students go for internships, Infosys, Cognizant, and many more. So that's about the program which we are going to talk today. And I now request Anushri to carry this forward, the discussions.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Well, I have got a few questions on this chat box. I would like to, the first question is, and very interesting one, ma'am, that with the government's announcement that they will be supporting integrated circuit fabrication and investment by multinationals in India. So how do you think is this going to affect the electronics industry and job seekers?
This is a very interesting question, and it's a recent announcement. I believe last week itself, the government, I read in the papers, has announced, and it has invited expression of interest from various chip making companies from abroad, and they want them to invest for integrated circuits, or the ICs as we call them in short. They want them to do this investment for fabrication in India. And I would like to mention that typically these type of fabrication units, they involve investment of about $5 to $7 billion. And the government has decided to be one of the stakeholders. Government will be one of the buyers in this industry, and they will also mandate, there will be mandate for the private sector also. So this will, once we start manufacturing these integrated circuits in India, it's going to help us to boost up the electronic industry in a big way, because we've already started manufacturing smartphones in India, for which we right now we are importing a lot of integrated circuits. And once we start making them indigenously, we would be saving on time, we would be saving on a lot of cost also. Other than the telecommunication industry, right now we all know that there's a lot of demand for AI chips also, AI processors. These are different from the normal processors which are used inside our laptops or inside our mobile phones. They're called as neuromorphic processors. And these processors, they can use a lot of machine learning algorithms and neural networks. So in order to have that kind of capability, they need to be much faster compared to a normal processor. So again, this VLSI industry is now getting into making these new kind of processors, and much faster. Like if I talk about speed, typically the processors which we use for gaming work from about 3.5 to 4 gigahertz. The faster processor, we have one from AMD which works at about 8.5 gigahertz, but these might be even more faster than that. So, and another thing which is really very impressive is that these processors, they are working on the 10 nanometer technology. So what is this technology is that the integrated circuits are becoming smaller and smaller. When I talk about 10 nanometer, that means that a single MOSFET inside it will have a channel length of between 10 to 20 nanometer, which means it's a very tiny chip. You might not be able to see it with a normal, a simple microscope. You need something more sophisticated for that. So that kind of technology, we are expecting that we would be able to have those fabrication facilities in India, and that would definitely boost up the consumer electronic markets, the health electronic products, and a lot of other products, lot of sensors and other gadgets.
I get it. Thank you so much for such elaborated and interesting response. I mean, ma'am, me being from a non-technical background, I feel as if it is such a lucrative opportunity and I should grab it at once. So that's wonderful. Thank you for your response, ma'am. And over to you, Professor Gustavo. You have, I know that you have more than decades of experience in automation in industry as well as in academics. So I am kind of putting this question to you. How do you think that automation is going to affect in various phases of life, especially in the new situation?
Thanks, Anushree. And thank you for this question. I have been, studying and working in the automation field for many years. And just to add something to what Devika was saying, recently I read that in US, some car companies, manufacturing companies of cars, they had to stop delivering new cars because of the shortage of certain circuits, certain integrated circuits that because of all the situation of COVID and all this, it has affected, all the supply chain of this other products. And this is why it is so critical for all countries and of course for India to be able to produce to fabricate these circuits here in India. So, but yes, so let me, about your question of automation, we have, if you try to find the previous webinars that we have done here on JKLU, you will find this pattern because this topic about the what is happening and the COVID and the new normal that we are living now after COVID, no? But in fact, I think that uh, in future, when in the future generations they will start this period, I am sure that they will take, they will remember and they will consider this COVID pandemic to be the event that has accelerated many trends that already were there, but because of this situation, we now we can see that many of the things has been, some people say that what usually takes 5 years or 10 years even for some technologies to be adopted, in just 1 year, now we see that these technologies are there. So to come about automation, we have seen that automation means that any system has some autonomy. The word autonomy is there, and what means autonomy is that there is a property of systems that they are able, at least to some extent, to act by their own. So they don't have to be constantly controlled or operated by other system or human beings, for example. So let me give you another tip. Yesterday, I was reading in another article that the production and the sellings of industrial robots in US, despite of this economic slowdown, has increased almost 10% since the last year. So, and in some domain, for example, in the pharmaceutical and the robots that are designed for hospitals, the increasing of selling has been almost 80% if you compare to last year. So it is amazing. It is this trend is there, and what will happen is that in terms for a country like India, what is happening is this: we have a large population in India, and with all this acceleration of this pace of adoption of new technologies like robotics, like IoT and all that, so we have to reskill the workers and the people to be able to use and operate and design and interact all these new technologies. And so what we are doing now in JKLU is that since the first semester, all the engineers are in fact involved with some type of automation course. For example, in the first semester, we have a course that is Fundamentals of Automation Engineering, which is unique, I think, at least in the research that we have done in India. So what we have done is that we have taken different subjects that are taught usually in other, in other courses like digital systems, like electric circuits and measurement and instrumentation, for example. And we have taken the concepts that students need to be able to develop and work in projects since their first semester. So in their first semester, students will be able to design, to implement automation projects. And I think that it is in fact unique. So after this first, contact with automation technologies, we have many other like introduction to IoT, automation project, and classic courses like signals and control systems that specifically this is for students of ECE because they need to learn the theory and the basic concept of this. Then we also have many interesting courses that we are teaching for postgraduate level in MTech, and there we currently we are teaching like intelligent control systems and for example optimization and control. This is the basic course that I am teaching. So I think that what we are trying to do now is that you can see that there is a trade-off between the learning of the fundamental concepts that we know that all the engineers and all the students they need to know, because we are this is the the basic concepts that all the students and all the professionals they need to know. But also we are trying to make this learning process very interesting, hands-on, and very dynamic, in such a way that students are always and are practicing since the first semester, as I told you, the basic engineering principles like design, problem solving, time management, teamwork, all these things that also are very important. So of course, because of time, maybe I will hand over to you, Anushree, but if any other question, any other doubt that you may have, is my pleasure to answer.
No, thank you so much. I think that was a really detailed one, and the scope of automation at the same time. How are we going to cover it? Everything you've covered it pretty well. But I would like to know: is there anything about the courses on automation in JKLU that you might like to address more or in detail? Any courses?
Yes. Yes. So this is the what I was telling you. In the first semester, so we have fundamentals of automation. Then in the next semesters, we have introduction to IoT, we have automation projects. And in all these topics that I am telling you, students need to deliver a real project, real application. Like, for example, now I can tell you that they have designed like a robot for hospital applications, okay, in order to maintain the social distance. Or you may think about something like detecting whether or not some people are using masks. That this type of applications that now are very important, and many others projects that are like this, not only for the specific situation of COVID, but for general also applications that still people need, to control appliances and machines in a remote way. So all these courses we are dealing with this, and specifically, of course, what I am telling you is that all the engineers students have some involvement with automation, okay, but specifically for ECE students, we have more advanced courses, like, for example, one course that we are teaching right now is industrial IoT, in which they will learn the specific protocols and the specific technology that they need to implement IoT solutions for, in the case of the industry of manufacturing companies or oil and gas companies, type of industries in which they have very specific standards and the type of solutions that they have to implement is very different if you compare to the solutions or the products that the general public they are using in their home. Okay, so this is something that we have like that, and all the students are involved, but specifically ECE, they are involved in these advanced courses on automation.
Yeah, so I would like to add that this course on industrial IoT is a departmental elective for the ECE students. They have, some of them have chosen this course. Two of them are here with us right now, Naman and Kushi, who would be explaining more about some of their courses. And this is where we give them access through remote, like they are at their homes, but they are able to access our lab through remote access on gateways and able to do their experiments and projects. So we'll be talking more about this when we talk with the students.
Thank you, Professor Gustavo and Dr. Devika. And now my question is for Dr. Milind. How do you think that this satellite-based connectivity and 5G data connectivity, it influences the IoT industry in India? And, what type of roles do you foresee for ECE engineers in this area of communications?
Thank you, Anushri, for your remarks and also for that very interesting question. It's very relevant today. And it is very, first of all, to begin with, it is very encouraging to see our old students, alumni, Kamaldeep and Harshita, and the excellent accolades which Dr. Devika just read out for you. It's really very encouraging to note that even for the potential students who are going to join our department, and also for the present, it's also happy to see our own students, Naman and Kushi. Okay, and they'll also be engaging with you. And by the way, when Dr. Gustavo mentioned about the automation, the real projects which the students are doing, like you see the students in front of you, it is worth mentioning that they had Gustavo's team and the students' team had won a national contest recently. Okay, and it was a national level contest, a high-profile contest, and that was very appreciable. And coming to your question, first of all, and to talk about IoT in general, I think Dr. Devika Kataria would later on perhaps would like to speak more about IoT specifically, because that is her area of research, and she does a lot of work in IoT. She's very passionate about that particular field. All right. But coming to the communication aspect, recently there was a consultation draft which the government of India, the Telecom Regulatory Authority, had issued to the public domain, particularly the universities, research centers. It had even been shared at our university, JKLU, that how the licensing framework should be carried forward for the spectrum licensing, what kind of costs involved, the governmental stocks, the budget allocations, etc., and what are the technologies that could help augment the communication, the small satellite industry, to provide IoT services in India, particularly in India. So how are we going to make that spectrum licensing framework? That was the broad category. And there were several questions related to that. For example, should we use geosynchronous orbits? Should we use medium Earth orbits? Should we use low Earth orbit satellites? And there were very specific questions to be justified, okay, and explained in particular. And many of these ideas, I noticed that even we were discussing it 2 days ago, that many of our courses cover these kind of aspects as well. For example, our current students, Naman and Kushi, they will be able to tell you they are doing a case study on certain topics which they are doing, for example, signal processing and communication, and how the automotive industry, like Bosch, for example, how they are developing radars, okay, based on the FFT technology, okay, based on the Chirp-Z algorithm, the Z transforms, and how the industry connects the courses that we study at JKLU at the EC department. Right, so coming to that question again, the larger question is that to enable IoT connectivity in India, how does the small satellite industry contribute? So prior to this, it will be interesting to note, very encouraging to note, that the government of India has actually permitted commercialization of the small satellite industry. Okay, so that you have a cheaper production cost to launch the satellites at a shorter duration. So the development time is less. So it is more easy to do research at the low Earth orbit, using the low Earth orbit satellites. And in future, for establishing IoT connectivity, we will be using the low Earth orbit satellites, because low Earth orbit, they ensure that a larger area of the Earth is covered. Okay, there is as the satellite is scanning the Earth, a wider area is covered compared to the other satellites, and there is more stability. And this IoT application was also mentioned that when you are going for the spectrum allocation, it should be for low bitrate applications. Okay, so the small satellite industry, commercialization with reduced costs, with low Earth orbits, providing complete IoT connectivity with several, let's say several millions of devices perhaps. Okay, now this is the enabling technology, the backbone infrastructure to enable this is the future 5G infrastructure, which we all commonly speak about. Okay, so the 5G infrastructure, for example, again, our students are working on intelligent transportation. They recently worked on some protocols on the wireless ad hoc networks, specifically pertaining to the vehicular ad hoc networks. I think Naman and Kushi will be able to tell you much more details about that as well. So Dr. Gustavo, if you noticed, he used a term called autonomy. So again, these vehicular and ad hoc mobile nodes, they achieve a certain sense of autonomy also. So the future 5G, along with the IoT connectivity, the Internet of Things, okay? So all this 5G infrastructure, they will all come under this autonomy paradigm, all right? So the technologies that are going to augment these developments of this infrastructure is what Dr. Devika Kataria already said in the beginning. The VLSI technology, the reduction of the gate length so that you can accommodate more number of the MOSFETs on a given space area. So these technologies, they put together. Okay. Now coming to the ECE aspect, the magic is that ECE gives you an advantage of a system thinking. So you take this question, you put together what Dr. Gustavo said, Dr. Devika said, you put together VLSI, IoT, you put together automation and communication, what do you get? You get a system thinking, and that is where the future new age pedagogy is moving to. The student should develop a systems thinking. And this system thinking is justified, particularly by the automation program, the project-based learning systems in the first year itself, which students are exposed to during their projects, their minor projects, or even their major projects at the final year, and the courses in between, even the theory courses. They're more of, we have a large continuous assessment, an elaborate continuous assessment system where you have case studies and projects and all this. So a system thinking is developed in the students. So EC gives you that added edge. Compared to perhaps more specialized branches, EC gives you a flexibility of addressing this future 5G networking and IoT environment in which the world is moving. So that's why we even titled this particular engagement as the new roads to the digital world, the future digital world. So the future digital world is the world of electronics and communication, electronic devices put together and communication enabling technologies. I think that would have answered the question, Anushree. Is that fine? And if anybody would like to add something, that would be welcome.
Yes, I think, and I'm
Yes,
so
can
I'm yes, please.
Thanks, Anushri. I would like to add, because Milind also, he didn't mention, and of course we don't have time for that, but Milind is a researcher, very good researcher in the area of antenna design. And what everybody should know is that in order for all these applications, IoT, whatever thing that all these things, the things that we are doing right now, in order for all these things to work, they need very good antennas. And so if anybody is interested in the area of antenna design or designing new antennas, new applications for antennas, I think that Milind is the person that they have to contact, because he has
To
he
add to
didn't
that,
mention, but
Gustavo, even yes, we have a
yes.
cross-disciplinary approach as well, so that the enabling technology, of course, the antenna is one part of the system. Okay, that is good, but we are now going into the age of MIMO, multiple input, multiple output systems. So multiple antenna systems are used to. Even yesterday, Devika was just asking me about the OnePlus mobile phones, which is already launched in the Indian market. They are already working on the 5G platform. That's again very interesting to see the VLSI technology. If you open it up and understand that, so it's more of a cross-disciplinary. That's why again, EC gives you this kind of a systems thinking. You can open up and look at the circuits, look at the components, look at the softwares, look at the hardware. It brings together the whole thing. So that's the advantage you have over there.
Right. Thank you so much for your views and just explaining it so well. And now let us turn to our alumni who, out of their busy schedules, have managed time to interact with us and with the students. We have Harshita Gupta, 2016-20 batch alumni. She is a cloud DevOps engineer at Cloud Hack Technologies Private Limited. She earned credits for some course at IIT Gandhinagar as part of non-degree program. Harshita, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Hello. Good evening, all of the faculties. I am very much happy to see you all again after so long time. So, yes.
So, Harshita, you are in the industry now. What are the expectations of industries from fresh ECE students?
Yeah, so being an electronics engineer, so one, we are having an additional opportunity, like we can work in the hardware field also and in software field also, as Milind sir has mentioned. So if someone wants to work as in hardware fields, then they all are having great opportunities, like you can work in control systems, VLSI designing, you can learn embedded C. So, but the main thing which remains constant is the programming. So whether you're from CSE background or an EC background, you should always learn programming because it helps you in Internet of Things. This is the specialization. This is one more field. Machine learning, AI, computer vision, image processing. So in all these fields, programming is the one thing which remains constant. The second thing is your communication skills. So JKLU has always helped me in developing my personality, my communication skills, because we have that CCT, Center for Communication or Critical Thinking. So that is the one more plus point. I thanks to JKLU for that. And yes, I got an opportunity to go to IIT Gandhinagar. So I really learned a lot. It really helped me to boost up my confidence, my knowledge. And also the one more thing is the faculty always provide you the basic fundamental knowledge. So you should able to think out of the box. So you should have knowledge beyond the textbooks. Try to implement those basic fundamental knowledge into the lab practically. Try to utilize all the resources which has been provided by the JKLU, because we have a very great resource. We have very great facilities, lab facilities. If you get a chance to visit JKLU, then please go and visit JKLU labs. They are really very good. So try to utilize all the resources, and then always you should have a positive attitude. Never say no to anything. If you're getting an opportunity to try something new, despite of the fact that you don't know anything, you have not worked on it, no matter what, just grab that opportunity, try learning those things while working on that opportunity. This is the best thing which I have learned from my experience. So yes, the industry expects all these things from you, because as a fresh graduate you should, because if you are having all these skills, then you can definitely get the knowledge which they will provide you during training. So the positive attitude, good communication skills, you should have the ability to think out of the box. Yes, the programming is the necessary because it develops your logics. So that is which is very necessary.
Harshita, one more add on to it. Like, how should, like you are saying that one should be, be very positive and all these qualities. But there's one more question. If one wants to update himself or herself, with technologies in demand in industry while being a student, how should that person do, the student do?
Yeah, I can definitely tell you my experience in this, how I implemented it in my life. So being an electronics engineer while as a student in JKLU, what I used to do is I used to study what all the subjects we are having in our semesters. Apart from this, you should work on your specializations also, on your interest, because it have a flavor of each and every special field. Like try to have a hands-on experience, because I used to attend each and every workshop which ma'am asked, like that we are organizing a workshop and you have to attend it. So I have attended a lot more workshop. I have had a hands-on experience on IoT, machine learning and AI. So, and then I decided that, oh, I'm liking this field and I have more confidence on this field. So I used to read blogs. Try to read blogs each and every day. Make this your habit that you should read blogs. Try to research more about that field, like what is happening in Internet of Things, what new is coming related to machine learning, computer vision, AI. So all these things are there, and watch videos, because we as a student or as a youth minds, we can say young minds, we can say we tend to spend more time on social media rather than watching the videos which are useful to us. So I would request just spare some more time to watch videos related to your specialized fields, which will increase your knowledge. So that's how I used to do during my college life. I used to try out different things. I used to research a lot, because research is the one word which defines you. Like, because no one will feed you everything. No one will do spoon feeding. Okay, this is the thing, you should now try this. It is your responsibility to research and find that, okay, I am more interested in this field. Now, if I'll go with this, then I can get great opportunities. Also, you can discuss with your faculty members, because they will never say no. Their doors are always open. So you can go and discuss with your faculty members also. So that's how I used to do during my college life.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. And I think that's a bang on suggestion that you have given here and you've shared with the students here. One is, yes, talking to the faculty members, but apart from that, yes, working by yourself. That is something very important, the research that you've said. So I'm sure all our students and the, potential students of EC, they are going to take this home with them. Thank you so much, Harshita, for your valuable views and your valuable remarks. And let me tell you, I am from Triple CT. Maybe I joined after you left college. Yeah, so that's wonderful to hear good words always. Thank you. Now we have Kamardeep with us. He is also alumni 2016-20 batch of JKLU. He has published paper in Elsevier. And we are proud to say that Kamardeep has scored 96 percentile in GATE. So welcome, Kamardeep.
A very good evening to everyone, and thank you, ma'am, for your remarks. And I'll come first to the research thing we have been talking about for so long now. So from my second year, we have been attending workshops, and then we have been going out to other labs and our labs as well. And we would get to interact with the globally recognized scientists and all. So that put a spark in me to know about what all have been doing. So then we got to know about a program that we have an MOU with CSIR Sri Pilani, the most recognized institute in India in electronics research. So then I got the opportunity for 8 weeks internship, and it ignited me more to learn about what all we have. And when I went to the CRE Pilani, the faculty support has always been there, and they would tell you that okay, this is not a different technology. This is a very good technology that we could use in our daily lives. So then that 8 weeks like ignited me like with anything. And then after that, I came back, and the teachers are really supportive, and they told me that okay, so now you have a 8 weeks experience. So now we'll work on the project that would increase your interest in research life, and that'll also help you in your career ahead. So then in my final semester, I did a project that really helped me publish my paper, what you really talked about. And then after that, I went for my last second practice school at the 4 months. So that was also at CSIR CRE Pilani. And when I went there, I was really amazed because I was exposed to the technology, which is only present at CSIR CRE Pilani in India. And being an undergraduate student right now, that has been a big plus, that we could use products which are worth more than 15 lakhs, and we could do hands-on experience on that. And that was really amazing. But just due to COVID, it affected the 2 months week, but the scientists and teachers were really helpful. So they put me the hands-on lab on my laptop, that okay, you just simulate all the things on your laptop, and the teachers are really connected. And it has been a technology which like everyone would be fascinated to know about. The technology I study is what about FPGA. Those are field programmable gate arrays. So it's like you have a mobile phone and you have like certain hardware, but you all like right now we are using the softwares. We are implementing software. You're using apps. But if you get to know that okay, you can reconfigure your hardware device. Like okay, you need 2 GB RAM for this process, or maybe a 4 GB, 8 GB RAM. So at your own, you could reconfigure a device. And also at the same time, they are using these machine learning algorithm in that audio processing, video processing, and all. So it was a really big opportunity for me. And the big thing is they are really happy with the students JKLU at such big institution. So they want to they want the students from JKLU to come to them, and they want to absorb those students in their research work, in their PhD courses, in their MTech courses. They want students to have work with them, and they also come to our institution for some webinars or maybe some workshops, and they are really globally recognized scientists. So it was very great about that. And coming to the GATE percentile, the all credit goes to my faculties at JKLU, because along with the research work, they always look upon the basics that a student should never miss. So they would target on the basics along with the spark for the student in research works. And that's how you get interest in studying all those subjects at once, or maybe in 6 months, or maybe in 8 months. So the basics are really important. And that really made me like for my self-study, that okay, this is something I know, and this is something I could explore. And even while my preparation, teachers are really helpful to tell me about the books they have, the experience they have. And even after the GATE, they're really helpful about the counseling sessions, and how should we approach to the master's degree, and how should we approach to even the research work. So they have been really kind, and they've been really helpful for all the students. So I would tell everybody to just get into connection with these all once for a while, because they won't the aura they have, they won't let you go anywhere else.
That is so fantastic. I can tell you, I mean, especially the kind of enthusiasm you are demonstrating here, that is actually, filling us all with that kind of energy.
Can
and I'm
I
sure everyone
add something,
here.
Anushree, please?
Of course, Dr. Thomas.
Sorry to interrupt you in between, because I
That's
just
okay.
like to, seeing his Kamaldeep's passion. Really, congratulations once again, because I think we have not met personally, physically. Talking, because you and Harshit also passionately talking about research. We do, as I just wanted to augment what was said in between. Actually, we have a culture in JKU that all of our faculty, they usually filter the research that they do into the classroom. They discuss it with the students. They make them do some part of work with it. So there is a gradual filtration from the PhD to the MTech to the BTech. The classrooms, discussions, engagements. There is a gradual. So that culture is unique, I believe, at JKU comparatively. Yes. Just wanted to add that in.
May I add something also that?
Yes, Professor, please.
No, go ahead. Because I think that you were thinking.
What is happening is that students are also taking part in a lot of innovation challenges And I remember Harshita going for a startup challenge and Kavardeep, when he wrote this paper, he was initially targeting for IEEE and then for IT journals. So they get they do a lot of teamwork. They do collaboration with students of other departments also, and do a lot of work which they can publish or which they can take part in national level challenges.
And they always win. They always come winners.
Maybe I would like to add, Devika, that JKLU, we are having this MOU with Siri Pilani also, no?
Yes,
That,
yes. In fact, we
so,
have
and I
a
have,
MOU for 5 years, and this was done in 2017 and is still valid. And there are different areas which are covered in this MOU. For example, we do joint workshops. We have done workshops on IoT, and then we've done internships for students and lot of
grants.
other
We have written some grants together, so we hope that this relationship with the Siri Pilani will continue. Yes.
When Dr. Devika, you mentioned about innovation, research, and all that, and your passion, but you forgot to mention, I think, in between that you also won an innovation challenge recently at IIT Kanpur. Why did you miss that out?
Yes, that was with one of our MTech students. Yeah, so one of our MTech students had recently done some work with my team, and then this idea was put up at Flexi Center at IIT Kanpur, and the challenge was also sponsored by Ministry of Electronics, and our team won a prize there, and the student is now going to incubate that idea with us at our Atal Incubation Center.
Fantastic. So, yes, ma'am, would you like to add something?
No, that's all from my side. I guess we have the present students also with us, Naman.
So thank you, Kavardeep and Harshita, and thank you, professors. And now we have our students from 6th semester, ongoing semester, Naman and Khushi, very respectful, very intelligent students. So they are 2018-22 batch. Let's talk to Naman. Hi, Naman.
Hello, ma'am.
So Naman, what type of courses are taught in ECE at JKLU? I mean, do you have choice of subjects?
Yeah, sure, ma'am. Like we have electronic devices and circuits. So in that we studied about semiconductor and its property, and we use semiconductor in making various devices like LED, transistor, diode. So these all concepts are covered in that course. Then we have Python programming language, which we use for data visualization and working on real life problems using mathematical concept, and how to implement Python using all those mathematical concept like metrics, vectors. Then we have courses on analog and digital communication, where we knew the concept of various modulation technique for transmitting messages from transmitter to receiver. Then we have courses on IoT, as ma'am and sir already said, that we use Raspberry Pi. It's a kind of microprocessor where we have interface various sensor, and we have used cloud services like Amazon Web Service and IBM Watson Cloud for monitoring and storage of data. Then we have a special 2-credit course for we have Science Week, Design Week, IoT Week. In this, we particular have that 1 week, and we particular focus on that particular thing. Like in Science Week, first of all, we get the concept, then we make some project using that these concepts. Similarly with IoT, first of all, faculty teaches about all the concept and theory. Then we use various microcontroller like Raspberry Pi, MSP430, and then we use this microcontroller to make different projects. Like we are working, we have made some projects on using these microcontroller, and we have interface various sensor, and we have work on various framework like Code Composer Studio. Then we have a course on networking where we have studied about the concept of protocols and various models like OSI and TCP IP models, which we used in making home automations services. We use this concept for designing our home automation and in IoT as well. So yeah, these are the courses. And answer to your next question, that we get choices about the various courses, like different other branches offer various selective courses on programming and other things. It's totally depend on student, like in which field they want to go. So suppose I'm interested more in coding and web development, so I have opted elective courses on that offered by CSE department. So similarly, my other friends are interested in some other branches, so they have taken from mechanical and civil branches as well. So yeah, these are the courses.
Fantastic. And I have got a question for you again. So Naman sir, what did you do for internship and how did you work on the project from remote? And what were your challenges?
Okay, so I did my PS1 from Udaipur Cement. So we were given some problem, like I have to predict a failure of cement machinery system, which they call clean. So they have appointed a mentor from their side, and our college has also appointed our mentor. My mentor is present here, Gustavo sir. So we used to work on the data they provided us, then we applied machine learning algorithm. We studied in first year about Python and data visualization. So that concept helped me a lot because I have to use it in my PS1. So that's also an advantage of these courses offered to us. And there was some network issues during this remote access. So sometime at that time when I was doing internship, so at that time they don't have complete staff, so they have a lot of work as well in their plant. So sometime our meeting were also delayed, and there was some miscommunication as well. So these are the challenges which I faced during my internship.
But eventually you were able to overcome all the challenges and meet the
definitely.
requirement. Fantastic. Thank you, Naman. And let's hear from Khushi now. Khushi.
Yes, ma'am. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, everyone, and good evening, Khushi. So Khushi, I have a question for you. Is lab work in ECE too demanding? And how are you doing your lab activities? Is it online or you are required to visit the labs?
Yes, ma'am. So first of all, I'll be sticking to your first question. So is lab work in ECE too demanding? I wouldn't say it is too much demanding. Like nothing is much demanding if you think it that way, but still as we have been working in labs and school too, in 9th standard, 10th, 11th, 12th, we have been working in labs so much. So I don't think that it is much of a demanding work. You just have to be a little more concerned and concentrated when the teacher is explaining you the whatever lab work you have to do. And I guess it's all the same as we do in school, that we have to submit a lab work and we have to take down the notes. That's all we do in college too. There's nothing new, but yeah, you have to be a little more concentrated about what all experiment you are doing at that time, and you should be more engaged at that time. But I would say that labs are way much more fun than being in a theoretical class. So I would not say it is a demanding work, but it is a fun thing being there in the lab block and just doing all the activities over there. So yeah, I'll come to the next question. You said about that how are we doing our lab activities right now? So when we were physically present there in our JKLU campus, it has been a long time now, but still when we were present over there, we used to do all the lab works by physically present over there. But now, as we all know, it is a pandemic situation and we have not been to our campus since a very long time. I guess 2-3 semesters have been passed and we have not been there. So we have been working on the virtual mode. we have a lot of softwares which help us doing the task we have to complete. And the things we used to do in our college by physically present over there, we do that in a virtual mode. So I would like to give some of the examples that we have. We had some subjects like Naman recently told about, that we had a subject, real-time operating system and digital system design. So they just had the lab works, and we used to do in a virtual mode. And there were a lot of softwares like Xilinx or CCS. In my current semester too, we have such subjects. There is a lot of need to do the lab work. Like we have digital signal processing or the industrial IoT, which Gustavo sir and Devika ma'am are teaching us. So we do now also, we do a lot of virtual work on our labs with a lot of number of softwares. So yeah, it is fun. We had not stopped. The thing is, we should not stop. We have not stopped. Like we are not in the campus and we can't do anything. Even when I was in the 4th semester, when the lockdown was just the orders were there that you should lock down the country, and we were home, and there was a project which I was not able to complete. Like many of my classmates were not able to complete when we were physically present over there. So then we were like, how are we going to do this? Because this is the situation that has occurred now. Prior to this or earlier, we were not knowing that we can do it in the laptops. Like we created all our circuits and did our whole project on our laptops. So it is a kind of nice thing too. But yeah, by physically being there, it was a lot more fun. So yeah.
Okay, Khushi. And are you involved in any professional development activities?
Yes, ma'am. I was in IEEE, and I used to handle the social media handles of the IEEE. We did a lot of activities and workshops and hackathons in that particular organization we were in, and there were a lot of colleagues. Devika ma'am was too there, and a lot of people. And when the IEEE chapter started at our JKLU college, we just had an oath ceremony and a machine learning workshop, a hackathon, and all those activities we were involved in. This improves our technical skills and a lot more skills that are used in the industries.
Right, right. Thank you so much, Khushi. That was wonderful talking to you. Now I can see a lot of questions popping up. Panelists, if you allow us, could we just pose a few questions?
Yeah, maybe we are restricted for the time, so a few questions would be fine.
Yes. So one question is, what are concentration subjects and what are minor subjects?
Okay. So may I answer this, or anyone would like to add? You can, please. Concentrations are the subjects in ECE which the students would like to do after they are in their 5th or 6th semester. The first 4 semesters, they do the core subjects where they learn the fundamental subjects required for electronics and communication engineering. Along with that, they have some interdisciplinary subjects where every branch student learns about those subjects. For example, computational engineering analysis or engineering measurements and machines. So these are some compulsory interdisciplinary subjects. But once these subjects are done by 4th semester, from the 5th semester, they start getting the option of doing some departmental electives and open electives. So in these department electives, they may choose 3 subjects in the 5th semester, 6th and 7th semester, where they could decide whether they want to do a concentration in digital systems, or they want to do a concentration in signal processing and communication systems. For example, a student who wants to do a concentration on communication and signal processing, could take elective course on satellite and radar communication, or on information theory and coding, or we have expertise, as we said, Dr. Milind is with us and as an expert in antenna design. We have another faculty whom we have not added him in the present panel, Divyanshu, who teaches wireless communication and networks. And there could be a lot more elective subjects, digital communication networks, which a student could take as a concentration in communication and signal processing. Same way, we have a concentration in digital systems also. So these are elective subjects, and they help the student to learn a particular domain into more depth. In case any of the panelists would like to add something here, you're welcome.
Yes, I would like to add, Devika, that when designing any curriculum, there is a trade-off between the courses that by law all students in India need to cover the minimum that is declared by the authorities, no? But beyond that, we would like to offer flexibility in the curriculum so that students are able to, as per their interests, the things that they like, to try to build their own path when becoming engineers. So I think that this model of concentrations and minors is helping in this goal of trying to offer this trade-off between the what is being there and what any engineer needs to know by law, and the flexibility that is needed for, because we are all different individuals. No, this is the
And we have one very relevant question here, like, how is the curriculum modified with respect to NEP?
Okay, that's again a very interesting question. So Professor Gustavo, would you like to say something here?
Yes, because we are involved in all the process of accreditation and all that. So we know that we can say that the content we can be sure that all the content that we are teaching is covered and is as per all the regulations, Indian regulations that are current, no? And but Devika, she can explain more, I am sure that.
Yeah, so there are a lot of things in the NEP which we were already doing. Like, for example, I can tell you our assessment system is very interesting. We don't do assessment like just at the end of the course. It's a sort of continuous assessment, and we do give feedbacks based on the various assessment components. So students do certain portion of their assessment work through assignments. There's a certain portion of assessment which is done through their project work. They have some continuous activities, lab activities. We take that also into the assessment rubric. And we do give them periodic feedbacks, how to improve upon and how to incorporate new ideas. So this is one of the NEP ideas which we were already implementing in JKU. And then we give them a lot of choice in subjects, as we said, like they have, other than departmental electives, open electives, and the core subjects, they have subjects from, you are already aware of it, Anushri, they have subjects from CTT, right? They have certain subjects in emerging technologies. And a lot of activities keep on happening where we have a lot of clubs also. So maybe Milind can explain a little bit on these activities where students undergo co-curricular development.
Yes, actually, to add on, I have nothing new to, but you have already set the relevant themes of the new education policy. But JKLU has always been following in its pedagogy in the structure of teaching and delivering and learning system. All the clauses that were already mentioned in the new the NEP which came out recently. For example, if you look at our teaching pedagogy system structure, we have the current themes which are driving the industry as our core. And then around that, we have professional development, we have the core domains, the projects, All right, that is our learning system. That's well in tune, in tune with the new education policy. It's not new to JKLU. We are already practicing that culture. And yes, again, the co-curricular, the extracurricular developments now. In the coming 2-3 days, we are going to have a global international program called the Celestial 21, which is an international, an array of, I think, more than 20 events, different sorts of events. And I think it's all over the social media boosted up. A lot of co-curricular activities, online mode and physical mode. We have sports and games and dance and singing, and you are given the freedom to express your artistic skills, your writing skills. You know, Anushree, of course, is involved with the Triple CT, the professional development aspect of that, of the pedagogy, where she deals with the storytelling, the power of storytelling, the power of media, the power of art and drama and communication. And so we have a well-defined pedagogy incorporating all these. So for the wholesome education of a child. Yes.
Thank you so much for this input. Ma'am, how many questions can we take? Because I see there are 3-4 more questions.
Yeah, so maybe Anushree, we can reply to them through emails, and maybe the students can contact us later also.
But there is one question that I really want to take, because students are already studying some IoT in their school also. So I think if we could take that one question.
Okay.
So ma'am, the student asked, what does one study in IoT at college? Is knowledge of Arduino or Raspberry Pi not enough to know IoT?
Okay. So Professor Gustavo, would you like to start answering that?
That's what I said in the beginning. Devika would, is very passionate about IoT. She would, there will be a lot of questions on IoT.
All right.
Yes,
so see,
we already predicted that, actually.
So see, what happens is when students learn IoT in the school, they learn it more as an application, right? So they know that they have to use Arduino, and then they use some standard libraries, and then they interface few sensors, and they are able to upload the sensor data onto the cloud. But what we teach here in IoT is we teach them not only how to use these devices, but to understand these devices, right? So first we teach them the microcontrollers, the various boards which they use, and then the types of sensors they use, the protocols using which they are going to interface the sensors with the boards, and then the protocols which they are going to use to send the data onto the cloud. So it is, we have a course called as Introduction to IoT, where they learn these fundamental concepts. And then subsequently in the same semester, they do an automation projects course where they make some projects, and many of these projects are really innovative ideas, which even Professor Gustavo will share with you. They are as per the local needs of the society. A lot of projects in healthcare, a lot of projects in agriculture, a lot of projects in industrial applications. So
yes,
and with the recent TRIES approach, the costs also are going to come down in India very, very soon.
Definitely.
So to answer this question is that there is it is very different when you try to work in any project for yourself, like a small experiment that you can do at school or at your own home yourself. You can do this, and there is something completely different when you want to, in fact, offer a service which is reliable, which needs to be scalable, which need to be a large scale, which need to be, in which you need to ensure some quality of this service, because people will pay for that. So as a professional service, as a professional product, so the requirements that you need to consider are completely different to something that you can do at the experiment level. So, but of course I am and Devika, and we are willing to answer all these questions. Maybe we will need another webinar only for this.
Looks
Okay.
like.
So as an example, you see, recently New Zealand has already demonstrated wireless power supply. You may be aware of that. So, and also Gustavo mentioned about the quality of service. So IoT is used here, and such advanced kind of courses you will definitely not study in school, but you will definitely study at the university level. So such applications where IoT is used in such kind of demonstrations. So this is a very exciting example. New Zealand has already demonstrated that wirelessly you can distribute energy and power.
Right, so we are towards the end, and thank you so much, everyone. Thank you
In
for
fact,
sharing.
I would like to thank everyone, all the attendees for being present during this evening arts, and to Anushri for willing to be on the panel with us. Thanks to my faculty colleagues, thanks to my alumni, despite their office engagements, they could spare some time and join us today. It was really wonderful seeing both of you, Harshita and Kavati, and my present students also. So it's been a wonderful session, and I hope, Harsh, we will be conducting more such sessions as and when you tell us. And thank you for all the coordination. Thank you.
Sure. We'll have many more such sessions, which will be enlightening for all the students who are aspiring to get into the world of technology, and especially electronics and communication engineering, which is a never dying field and one of the backbone of the technical world which we live into. I mean, the kind of digitization which is happening, we are moving towards digital transformation in each and everything what is happening around us. So especially post, I've read in my school days AD and BC. Now we type pre-COVID and pro-COVID. Now we are still in COVID. Unfortunately, the COVID have come back, the second wave, but then we have still started talking pre-COVID at least. And I'm sure, and I believe that very soon we'll start talking post-COVID. So especially after the pandemic, we have realized that how important electronic and communication is, how important communication is, and nothing can be communicated without electronics. So this is what I understand. Again, as Anushri said, we at least two of us are not from technical background. So this is what understanding we have. And I thank all the panelists, Dr. Kavita, Dr. Gustavo, Dr. Milind, and special thanks to the students who joined us, because they took time and shared their thoughts with us. That will, I'm sure, those who are watching this session and those who will watch this session in the coming time, because we'll be posting these sessions on the social media and also on our YouTube channel of JK Lakshmipat University for a larger audience to see. Because when we restrict timing, a lot of people somehow do not manage to join because of timings and all. But I'm sure it is available. This will go in archive also. So all the best, and thank you everyone once again. Have a nice evening ahead and stay safe, stay healthy.
Good. All of you have a great evening.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.